Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name's Mark and I'm going to try my best to kick off an 8-part series where we build an entire 2D game in Unity, completely from scratch. So over this course, we're going to start with a totally blank project, no assets provided, and by the end, hopefully, you'll end up having a fully playable game. We're just going to make a simple triangle-shaped ship flying game using mouse clicks, dodging incoming obstacles, while the score climbs the longer you survive. Now throughout the series, you'll learn the fundamentals of 2D game development in Unity, working in the scene view, setting up gameplay systems. I'm going to try and write clean and simple scripts for you, building a UI, using particle effects and audio, and then finally we're going to publish that game. And by the end, hopefully, you'll have the very basic skills and confidence to bring your own original 2D game ideas to life. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to open up Unity Hub. We're going to open a new project. I'm going to make sure it's on the latest Unity version. Unity 6.2. I'm going to select the universal 2D template. I'm going to give this a name. Just call it flying ship, call it whatever you want. Make sure it's located in a folder of your choice. And then we're going to click Create Project. Unity's engine's going to load up. This might take 30 seconds, 10 minutes, depending on your PC. I'm going to fast forward this part and then catch up when the game has loaded. Okay, so hopefully Unity is loaded up just like mine. So this is Unity's default layout. Now, the first thing we're going to do for building a 2D game is set the layout out so we can navigate the system easier. So what I like to do, again, it's personal preference, but I like to go into the top right and you'll see the word default. If you click on that, there are some already set up layouts, and for today we're going to select the 2x3 layout. Now what we're going to do is we're going to grab the project window and we're going to drag that down underneath the hierarchy section. I'm going to click on the 3 dots here and I'm going to select one column layout. And then I'm using an ultra wide monitor, but test and adjust, move this round how you see. And then what I'm going to do just to tidy it up is we are not going to use these 3 here. So I'm going to move them, so I've just control click to select them all, and I'm just going to drag them into my settings just so it's nice and clean. Now once we're happy with the layout, what we can do is we can save it. So in future when you're building 2D games, you can select that layout and it'll all be ready to go. So again, in the top right corner, you can select where it says 2x3 now, and you'll go down to save layout. You can give it a name, call it 2D game layout, and click save, and that will save. So when you come down to here, you can see I've got it saved there. Click on that and it will load that up. Now, just to give a layout of the land, what we can see here is the Unity scene view. So this is where we're going to build the game. We've got the game view. So this is what the game looks like when we click play. We've got the hierarchy window where we're going to have all our scenes and our objects. We've got our project window, which holds all our assets. And then we've got the inspection window where we can make edits or changes to our objects or assets. So now the layout's done, we're going to create a new scene. So in our scenes folder, I'm going to right click it. I'm going to go to create scene, and then scene again. Now the first thing that Unity will do is ask us to rename. So I'm just going to call this game, keep it simple. And then press enter. And then to get that up, I'm going to double click it. To see what scene you're in, if you look in the hierarchy window, you can see the default is sample scene. So I'm just going to double click game, and you can see now we're in the game scene. So to build your game world, we'll start by adding a simple hexagon-shaped obstacle to the scene. In Unity, 2D objects are used making sprites, so flat images that can be moved, coloured, or given physical properties. Now Unity uses the X, Y, and Z coordinate system, so the X-axis runs left to right, and the Y-axis runs up and down. Now in 2D games, the Z-axis or Z-axis is completely ignored. So let's put our first object in. We're going to right click into the hierarchy window. We're going to go to 2D object, sprites, and then select the hexagon flat top. Okay, and we'll give this a name. We will call it obstacle. Right, and press enter. Now if you look in the scene view and the game view, you know, this is where it's loaded in. We're going to move that so it's the center. So if we look our position in the inspector window, we're just going to select 0 on that and 0 on the Y. Okay, and now it's in the center of our scene. Next to the color, you can see the default will always be white. Click on that. Let's choose our favorite color. So for me, my favorite color is orange. So in the hierarchy window, I'm going to select the main camera. And then in the inspector window, we're going to look for the projection section. So yours might look like this. If it is, just open up the camera, open up projection there. And what we're looking for is the size. Now you can physically type in a new size to make the size of the camera bigger. Or if you prefer, you can click and drag in between and you can see the size of the camera will change. So we're looking for today, let's pull it around 7.5. Okay, so however you prefer, type it in or just click and drag. Then what I want you to do is go to the environment, open that up. Where it says background type, we're going to change that to solid color. And then because it's a space game, I want you to change the color to black. Okay, so now we've got an object in the middle of our game. We've got a dark black background. What we need to do now is add borders around the game view. So in the hierarchy window, we're going to right click, 2D object, sprites, and I'm going to select square. We're going to give this a name, so I'm going to call this border bottom. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to press W to use the move key. So in my scene, I can drag this up and down. We can select up here in the top left, we can select the move tool there. So I'm going to use the camera reference point for me to build my borders. So I'm going to move this down so it goes over the camera line. And then for this, I'm going to press T, the rect tool, and I'm just going to click and drag make that bottom border. And you can see in the game view, you can see what that looks like down there. Now what I'm going to do is build around the rest of the game. So with that selected, I'm going to Control D to duplicate that. I'm going to right click and rename to border top. Okay, I'm going to press the W key again. I'm going to move this one all the way up over the top. Now you can right click them and you can click duplicate if you prefer to here. Again, let me rename this one to border left. Pressing T again so I can edit the shape. I'm just going to click and drag and move it like so. Control D again, rename border right. Using the W key, move it over to the right side. Okay, so in your game view now, you can see for this game, we now have a border. Now, as you build games and you can make more complex games, what's really good practice actually is to keep everything nice and tidy. So for the borders, we're going to right click and we're going to create an empty. I'm just going to call this borders. And then I'm going to click and you can control click to select them all. Or you can shift click to select them all. And I'm going to drag them inside that borders section there. And you can see as you building these games, the more complex it gets, the more you're going to have. So keeping that nice and tidy is really going to help you. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to select the border bottom, and we're going to change the color. Again, you can pick whatever color you prefer in this tree, and you can see how that's changing. Now, what you can do as well is if you select them all, you can change the color of them all at once. So I'll go for a nice blue. And again, pick whatever color you want. So now you can see we've got the object in the middle, we've got a border going around. So that's part one complete. So you've built the foundation of your 2D game world by adding an obstacle, setting up the camera, adding screen boundaries, and organizing your scene. In the next tutorial, you're going to bring your first obstacle to life by adding physics, colliders, and turning it into a flying preflap.